What's up, everyone? This video is quite a bit delayed, but I just haven't had a lot of time to edit it, being that we really busted ass on the car before the race that you're about to see, and you'll kind of see what my thought process was behind all that. And then pretty much immediately after that, I was out of town for a while, and then some work stuff has been busy, and so just had a lot of things going on. I had a wedding, so just been kind of all over the country and doing a whole bunch of stuff, but we're back here. It's a little while late on the video, but I guess we'll just play it and you can see what happens. So basically, the last time that I had this particular crankshaft in the car, it did not spool well, and it didn't really do anything that well, and that's kind of how it acts currently. And so and back then I was also battling the converter problems and things like that. But all I knew is that the car didn't light up like it did before, and I could tell just driving it. And so then when I rebuilt this engine, it was the same. So I was on a super big hunch that it was the crankshaft. And so I decided a week before the race that we were going to flip-flop crankshafts. And I knew that the thrust bearing that was in the motor was really tired, which, do I care? No, not really. But I don't know. It was just kind of like, oh, let's do it. Let's just one last ditch effort. Let's see if we can go really fast and see what happens and whatever. So off we went, pulled the motor out, didn't take the heads off, flipped the crankshafts without pulling the rods and pistons out of the motor or any of that stuff, and then put it back together and put it back in the car. So that was quite the project for 1 week. I also had to fix the fuel tank was leaking. So in the last video, I don't know if I mentioned about the fuel tank, but I had a leak here of fuel. But then after I fixed it, I could still smell fuel, like consistently. And I was like, well, this is weird. You know, the fuel should all be gone by now from what I spilled when I was fixing that line. Like, this is quite strange. So then after 3 passes at Cache the Creek, I found the leak in the fuel tank. And I think I talked about some of that stuff, but whatever. So then I had to take that out. But as you know, maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't, but a tank that's that old, when it's corroded itself in a hole, it just welds really bad. So it took me a long time to kind of fix it. And I don't really know if it's ever going to truly hold forever. I mean, most of them probably don't, but I just don't think this one's got a whole lot of life left in it. So I might end up replacing the fuel tank. But yeah, so I had to do that and then do the whole motor thing all in the course of 1 week. And so we got it all done, and yeah, it was quite a hell of a project, but let's roll on with the video. Hey fellas, so I see this a lot on the internet, people asking how to prime, or they're trying to prime with the starter and having problems, stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. So in this video, I'm just going to show you how we typically prime our motors, and it's really cheap and it just works pretty good. So I'll spin the camera out, you can check. So this is a piece of PVC. I believe it's 3 or 4 inch, probably 4 inch. And then it's just got a coupler on the top with a thread and a cap like so, with an air hose on top. And on the bottom, it's just got a little barb with a hose, and then you can put it right into the main oiling port on the side of your LS block. That is not the right fitting, but it only screws in like a thread and it doesn't leak when I do this, so it's really no big deal. So after you get all that stuff, then obviously here, I got my oil, and so then you just dump the oil in, fill this thing up, and then I got an air hose here that runs all the way over to this little pressure guy, and you can just adjust the pressure on him. I usually run it at like 30 or 40, and you just dump oil in that tube, apply some air pressure to it, and it starts pumping in the motor. So this motor really there's nothing wrong with it, so I just kind of wanted to make the video. So usually you have the valve covers off, and I'll pull a clip out of one of my other videos and show you how that is, but you have the valve cover off, and then you just wait until you see oil coming out of each rocker tip. And like I said, I'll drop a clip in. But once you see oil coming out of all of them, you know you're usually good, and the engine's, it's got oil all the way through the oiling system. So once I see that, then I just fill it by the cap. And occasionally you might see 1 or 2 that don't get it, but I usually just don't worry about it. But at least this way you know that you're getting all the oil all the way everywhere into the bearings, And you don't have to sit there and crank it over on the starter forever trying to build oil pressure, because sometimes they just don't want to. So just figured I'd show you that. It's really cheap. It works really good. It's extremely easy. All right, so after that whole fiasco I told you about, it is back together completely. All the pipes on, water's in it, everything basically, and seems to be all right. Got the fuel in, got the fuel tank fixed. Yeah, so everything seems to be good. So we're going to fire this thing up. We primed it already, it's got oil in it already. Everything seems to be pretty mint. So what a brutal 5 days, but we'll fire it up and see what happens. I'm pretty sure it'll have oil pressure, being that everything primed pretty good, but we'll find out, obviously. And hopefully she's good to go. And hopefully it spools up. That's kind of the whole main reason I did all this. So I'm gonna fire it up, let it run for a little bit, and then see if it spools her up good. And here we go. So I went out and did the spool test, and it didn't fix it. And so then I was like, well, maybe it's in the tune. So I kind of messed around with the tune for a little bit. Couldn't get it to go. Probably tried it 3, maybe 4 times. I mean, I don't wind it all the way up because there's no reason to. If it don't pop off right away, I know that it ain't gonna work. But after the last time, it just blew a transmission line. Like, it fully exploded. And I have it over here, and I'll show it to you. I'm going to replace everything with really nice fittings because I'm kind of sick of this happening. But yeah, so it torched it pretty good. So that really sucked. Blew transmission fluid all over the driveway. This is at like 9 o'clock at night, and we're supposed to leave at 7:30 the next morning. So that was frustrating. I mean, a lot of work, you know, and then do that. And then, of course, you know, after you do it, you got hot transmission fluid, and it's just a horrible situation to try to clean up and fix all in the course of one evening. But I did eventually get it all taken care of after I let it cool off for a little bit. And so it was really no big deal. But I know that the car wasn't going to spool up, so that was quite depressing. But I figured since we did all the work, I didn't really have anything else to do that day. I was like, well, let's just go anyway. And, you know, I put some fresh lines on it and kind of fixed anything that was real high pressure, I replaced. And so all that stuff was good. Everything else in the car checked out fine and had good oil pressure. And I was like, well, screw it. Let's just go race, and probably be the last time out for the year. Let's just race. It'll spool up hard. I'll just keep doing the same thing I'm doing all year and telling people, you know, hey, it spools up really slow. Sorry. Can you just give me a minute? And, you know, no big deal. So that was the plan. So the Midway shootout is what we went to. That's in Cedar Falls, Iowa. And at that particular race, you get 2 test passes, and then you move on into eliminations. So we'll hop over to Cedar Falls, Iowa, and you can see what happened. So there you've seen that horrendous spool up. This converter is so loose the thing should light up in like 3 seconds. I mean, it's done it before with way tighter converters. So it's really, really frustrating for it to be doing this, especially since I can't figure out what it is. So since then, I've checked pretty much everything and I cannot find anything wrong with it, but we'll carry on with this video, then we'll talk some more after. But that tune-up, as far as that went, kind of just turned it down a little bit. I figured the track would be maybe just not quite there yet since we were one of the first to go down, but it was all right. I mean, it shook just for a little tiny bit, but it wasn't enough for me to need to get out of it or anything. Went a pretty good run, didn't have it wicked up crazy amounts or anything like that, but it was a good pass. I was happy with it, and confirmed that everything was right. The number and the mile an hour that it went was pretty legit for, you know, kind of the circumstances, and I was happy with it. So that was all good in the hood. So then we kind of got ready for our test pass number 2. So as you see there, it just didn't want to go. It appears the problem's getting worse. And I mean, it was hot out, don't get me wrong. It was like in the 90s, but there wasn't anything different about anything. I mean, it was already hot when we made the first run. It was still hot when we made the second run, so I don't know what to think about that. You know, it just tells me that there's something getting worse. And so after that pass, I went back into the pits. I got it cooled off. I toyed around with it. I got it to go. And I was like, well, and then I actually, so who I drew in small tire was Vert Wallace, and he's got a pretty badass blue G-body. And he come over to me and said that he was broke. He had lost oil pressure or something. So I was like, well, screw it. If we can get it to go decent, I'll just keep running the race. So I had a buy basically, and I was like, we'll just run it and see what happens for the last pass. And obviously that second pass, you know, it didn't do anything because I didn't leave on no boost. And it still seemed to take it forever for it to light up. But third pass coming at you to buy. That's the first round of eliminations. And you can see what happens. it didn't want to do a burnout. So I was kind of just screwed. I mean, I was doing everything I could to try to get it to go. I tried it like twice too. I didn't put that in here just because it's too much nonsense in between. But I tried to do a burnout twice and it would not go hardly either time. So, and if you paid attention to the burnout in the last one, the car went super sideways, and that's because it was kind of partially getting traction instead of just absolutely annihilating the tires like it's supposed to. So that was really frustrating. And after that, I was like, all right, we're done. We're just going to wreck something sitting on the trans brake forever. It don't want to do a burnout. I was like, there's no reason to keep trying because whatever's the problem is, it appears to be getting worse. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I have pressure tested basically everything. It's kind of hard to pressure test with, this big hole here. I mean, I put the cover over it and everything, trying to seal it up, but it still just leaks. But I can't find anything like, there is no massive leaks or anything like that. Like nothing that is crazy, mind-blowingly huge of a leak that would cause it. I did find a missing bolt underneath the high ram here, way up under here. That is kind of hard to see. Put the bolt back in, didn't change a single thing. So it was not that. And a 1/4-inch hole doesn't really do anything apparently, because it didn't even act like it had a vacuum leak or anything. I mean, the car ran the exact same. So the only thing that I can think, because this motor's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Everything looked really nice, aside from the thrust bearing. But the cam timing's right. I checked it all. All the valve train looks good. There doesn't look like there's anything screwed up. Plugs look decent. The car runs great. It just takes forever to spool up. So I don't know. You guys comment and let me know. But is there anything inside of the turbo that can go bad that will basically make it do what it's doing now? I've had them apart before, but I don't necessarily understand. I understand how they work, but as far as the internals go, I don't know if something's bad, what the effect of it being bad is. I mean, this turbo seems like it's perfectly healthy. Like, as far as in and out movement, there's just very, very little. Up and down, pretty much none. So, I mean, as far as the bearings feel, there doesn't seem like there's anything wrong, but I don't know if there's any way that there's like a seal going bad, that's like bleeding pressure off into the other side or what. But I just don't know what to think. I've checked the blow-off valve. It seems to be fine. When I pressurized all this up, I found this hole, from where the high ram bolt fell out, and that was like super obvious. So you'd think if there was a big hole somewhere or some sort of huge leak in a clamp or something, it would be very, very obvious. This converter is a 2135. It should be pretty damn loose. So the fact that it's struggling this much to spool is just weird. I mean, it's definitely looser than the one that was in it before, and it's definitely looser than the one that was in it before that. So it's just weird how it doesn't seem like the converters have changed anything as far as the spool up goes. It definitely changes down track, but the spool up is awful. And like PTC, when they gave me this one, they said, oh, this should help your spool up tremendously. And it did basically nothing, which I'm not saying it's not their fault. There's something wrong with this car. I just don't know what it is. So I don't know what the move for next year is. I'm probably going to end up putting the big motor in and changing a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't know if we'll truly ever find out. But if any of you guys have any suggestions, let me know. This motor's healthy. It's got 165 pounds of compression on every hole. There's no leaks in the hot side. There's no leaks in the cold side, apparently, that I can find. The intercooler seems okay. The turbo seems healthy. I do use a 3-step, and I've had very good luck with it. I do pull timing out when I'm doing it. I've also had very good luck with that. But I've adjusted a lot of those parameters, and it doesn't really seem to care what I do to it or when. Pull timing faster, don't care. Leave timing in it longer, don't really care. Add timing, don't care. Pull timing, don't care. Add fuel, doesn't care. Like, it's just, obviously, it changes a little bit there, but nothing makes it do what it would do before. So I just don't really know what to think of it, and I'm kind of sick of chasing the problem. I mean, the car should be a hell of a lot faster than it is for, what we got going on. It seems like, I don't know, it acts like it has no, I don't even know how to say it. Like, it's just making power, but it's not like really making power, or like really, it's like the power's just there and it's not like really aggressive. I don't know, it's weird. Like it's got a ton of timing on it is what you'd think. But I've verified the timing on it and I've done all that nonsense and everything checks out exactly the way that it should. And it's got timing and it's got like 15 degrees at 32 pounds or something. So I mean it's got some ignition there. It just is like it's just like it just falls into the next shift and just keeps going. Like it doesn't seem like it's like raring to go, and it's weird. I mean, it still pulls hard. It pulls like 2.2 G's off the hit. It'll pull like 0.8, 0.9 out the back. Like everything seems relatively normal. It just doesn't feel like that other motor felt. The other motor felt like it was just really, really getting after it. And I just don't know what to think of this one. I don't even know if it's the motor, but there's just got to be something wrong. And if you have any suggestions, let me know. I'm just super curious at this point. Like I said, you know, I've checked so many different things. There's no funky timing retards in the tune. There's just nothing weird. And maybe there's something wrong with the transmission. Like, I have no idea. But it runs good line pressure. The converter charge, like it's doing what it's supposed to. It's making pressure. It's just weird, man. I don't even know what to think of it. And it's incredibly frustrating. It seems like that's all the problems we've had in the last couple of years have just been like super bizarre ones. Not like where it's something where you kind of could just figure it out. It's like, it's gonna take you forever to finally understand this bizarre issue that's going on. But that's kind of where we're at now. So car's just sitting here. I've been tinkering with it a little bit, trying to find leaks, trying to find anything obviously wrong. And I haven't really been doing that great of a job at finding anything. So yeah, I don't know what to think, but we're getting into build season time where I'm probably going to end up doing a bunch of updates. I don't really know what my updates are going to be yet. I don't know. Not sure. So there she sits, just like this for now, and I'll come up with some ideas. If you guys have any thoughts on what is wrong with this thing, let me know. I basically built every engine the same, and they've all been pretty good. I mean, the one was kind of bizarre, but it also had a weird converter in it, so that was probably most of the problem there. But otherwise, the other ones, they just ripped. Everything worked really well, so I don't know what to think of it, really. Like I said, open to comments. Let me know. I'll do my best to answer any questions you have if you're wondering about something. But I've pretty much been through the whole thing up and down, and I cannot figure it out. I do use a dump valve, and it is wide open, if that was a question. And the pressure shows that it is wide open, like it's responding to it. Out of ideas. So shoot me a comment. Shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. However you typically get a hold of me or can get a hold of me. I'd just like to know. I'm open to anything. I can always back it out and try it if you have some sort of idea or something you want me to try. And we'll see what happens. So thanks for watching, guys. Sorry for all the brutalness. Very sick of this car kind of giving me troubles. So this year will be a nice update, I hope, to where we can go faster and not have very many problems. That's always the main goal. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hopefully I'm coming back with you with some updates here shortly.